Welcome to Dr. Piercy's AWS Cloud9 video series. Before you can use AWS Cloud9 to build your applications, you must first set up a Cloud9 environment. In this video, we're going to show you how to do that. An AWS Cloud9 environment relies on several underlying AWS services to provide its features and capabilities. The primary AWS services that power a Cloud9 environment are, first, the environment uses an Amazon EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, instance. EC2 provides the underlying compute resources for running the Cloud9 environment. When you create a new Cloud9 environment, AWS typically provisions an EC2 instance to run the environment's IDE, the code editor, and the terminal. You can manage, stop, start, and terminate the EC2 instance through the AWS Cloud9 interface or through the AWS console. It's through the AWS Cloud9 interface where the code is run and tested. The EC2 instance that is associated with Cloud9 uses EBS volumes for storage. This is where your project files, settings, and any additional software installed in the environment are stored. The data on EBS persists even when Cloud9 environment is stopped, ensuring that your work is saved and available when you restart. In addition, an AWS Systems Manager is used to connect to and manage the EC2 instance running the cloud environment. Cloud9 uses SSM to provide secure terminal access to the EC2 instance, even when SSH access is disabled. SSM provides the mechanism for you to run commands and manage the instance directly from Cloud9's web interface. Finally, AWS IAM is responsible for controlling access to AWS resources within the Cloud9 environment. It manages user permissions, roles, and policies, determining what users can do. Through IAM, you can allow multiple users to access and collaborate in the same Cloud9 environment with defined permission levels. Also, keep in mind that you need to set up an Amazon VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. The EC2 instances that host your Cloud9 environments are hosted within an AWS VPC. This isolates the environment and provides network-level security. In fact, before setting up your Cloud9 environment, you need to have a VPC with a private subnet and internet access within which to set up your EC2 instance. It's also interesting to know that your Cloud9 instance can connect to and optionally utilize various other AWS resources like AWS Lambda, AWS CloudWatch, AWS Code Commit, and S3. Setting up your AWS Cloud environment involves several steps. Here's a step-by-step guide to help you get started. First, sign in to your AWS Management Console. Here you can see that I have already done that. Next, you'll want to navigate to the AWS Cloud9 service. You can do this in the Management Console. Type Cloud9 in the search bar at the top and simply select Cloud9 from the list that results. Create your new environment by clicking on Create Environment. Now we need to configure the environment. Enter a name and description for your environment. Choose the environment type. Your choices are create a new EC2 instance for the environment. This is the default. AWS will automatically manage this EC2 instance for you. Or you can connect to an existing EC2 instance. If you already have an EC2 instance, you can connect your Cloud9 environment to it. Connect with SSH. You can connect to any machine that has an SSH server and use Cloud9 for even non-AWS servers. We'll pick the default to create a new EC2 instance for an environment. Now we need to choose our instance settings. Choose the instance type for your cloud environment. For most development purposes, a small instance like T2 Micro is sufficient. Choose your operating system. We'll go with the default, as Amazon Linux 2 is very commonly used. Now, some cost-saving settings. AWS allows you to automatically hibernate the instance after a period of inactivity to save costs. We'll go with 30 minutes. Now, choose your network settings. For VPC, we're going to select the VPC where our Cloud9 environment will be launched. For the subnet, I'm choosing one of my private subnets that are within the selected VPC. You could optionally assign an IAM role to the environment for additional permissions. I'm going to forego that for now. Review your settings to ensure everything is configured correctly, then click Create Environment. After a few minutes, your Cloud9 environment will be ready. Click on Open, and the AWS Cloud9 environment will open in a new browser tab. Then you can start using it for coding, debugging, and deploying applications. You can also customize your environment by installing additional tools, configuring settings, and setting up your deployment environment as needed. With your Cloud9 environment created, you're now ready to use Cloud9 for creating your application files and components. Check out other videos to learn how to use Cloud9 to create your application files.